Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Ray Orsini, and joining me today is Mr. Kyle Spooner of MSP Geek. How you doing, my friend?
I am great. How are you?
Good. I see we have an extra special guest in your screen. We have Goots as well. Um, I feel like we can't have an MSP. We can't have any MSP community conversation without Goots involved at this point. So it's nice to see him there.
Yeah, he wanted to tag along, and I was like, sure.
Yeah. Speaking of what I'm seeing, I'm not sure what I'm seeing. You want to describe this jacket that you're wearing? This
It's,
incredibly festive jacket, sir.
I mean, it's tis the season, right? There's a lot of holidays
It is.
happening,
It is.
all around the world. So I figured I could, since I'm on the community, I should, dress up for the community.
Yeah, that's true. Hanukkah started yesterday. We have Christmas coming up.
Yeah.
We have definitely have Festivus, no question about that.
All right.
So yeah, it's sounds good. So I appreciate you stepping in. Obviously, Matt Topper is off today. Just as some housekeeping, we are going to do today. We will have MSP Community Live next Friday as well, and then we're going to take a hiatus for a couple weeks with all the MMN shows. So we can enjoy the holidays, and hopefully you guys enjoy the holidays too. Um, so Kyle, let's get the really important stuff out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
MSP GeekCon coming up next May.
Yep.
Tickets have already opened up. You have the call for speakers through December 31st, I believe.
January 31st.
January 31st. So there's still time for that. You want to give us some of the goodies to expect out of MSP GeekCon for those who don't know yet?
So yeah, this event is taking all last event that we did in this May, and we have taken all the feedback we've gotten from that and fixed all the problems that were on the list to make better. Right. So we expanded our talks. We've added a whole new track. We've themed this year. It's around celebration, which isn't just a celebration of the event. It's a celebration of everything, the individual, the MSP, the vendors, everybody. And we have our fourth track is going to be tied to our theme, which is celebration. So our early bird tickets are $3.99, same price as last year. And they also end January 31st. So get in while they're available. They are going really quick this year. And there's a picture of us from last year. That's great. And Goots.
Definitely. What was it? 53% owners last year. What was the percentage of first time attendees? It was also ridiculously high.
It was in the 50% as well of no one who have been to an event before. And
yeah, I mean,
very surprising.
That's kind of awesome. I mean,
it is great. That's what we were trying to get. We know that technicians and those around the technicians don't generally get to go to events like this and learn and grow as an employee. Yeah. And the owners that sent those technicians, we appreciate you. We hope they found value to send them back again. We're working on making sure that we can provide the value and the education that our nonprofit community can do. So I don't know if we can do a holiday card. It's a little late. But I'm gonna write that down for next year for sure.
There you go. Not in the second year.
Yeah, thank you.
And speaking of nonprofit community good stuff, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something that we're both supporting heavily. Rejection Con also, and there's MSP Geeks logo right up there. Yep. Rejection Con next week, December 12th through 14th. Every ounce of every penny that you pay toward registration does not pass go, goes directly to the nonprofit. And actually,
Rural
that's
Tech
where your
Fund.
receipt comes from. Yeah, the Rural Tech Fund. We're trying to get to that goal of $10,000. MMN is absolutely supporting this as well. Please, even if you can't afford anything, go register anyway. Spread the word.
Pay what you can. It's a great event. I'm actually speaking with Mindy.
I saw in marketing. Day. How did that work out?
It's not marketing.
Okay.
It's I did a really horrible job of. I understand why it was rejected now.
Which is the point of Rejection Con. It is.
Yeah.
It's all the people that have been rejected.
It's right? Our talk is. It's called "Why Things Break in the Middle," but it's dumb. It's a dumb title. We're discussing leadership and middle management and the training and fostering of those newly promoted or those who have been in the job who have never had leadership training before and why you should do it. That's basically the premise of the talk. But
So you're not doing ethical marketing for next gen MSPs?
no.
What in the world was that? So that was on the website as of yesterday.
Are you serious?
I swear that so our good friend Dean Trempelis, I was talking shit with him. I'm like, okay, I get it from the client perspective, because neither of you guys proclaim to be marketers in the least bit, but definitely have been on the receiving side of bad marketing. So I was like, okay, maybe they're approaching it from that side. I didn't know. So yeah, that is on the website, or at least I saw it yesterday. So yeah, just thought you should know.
That's not it. I think that's Megan's talk.
Megan, yeah, because Megan Killian is on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's her talk.
Okay. Maybe a little bit of a web development issue. We'll take that up with Wes and Kyle and Alex.
I'm already DMing them.
But we did have some good laughs, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about stuff in the community. And for the if anybody has any questions, again, MMN is 1,000 voices, one community. So whether it's Geek, whether it's IT Pool Party, Tech Tribe, Reddit, SolarWinds, or not SolarWinds, Spiceworks, I don't care. It's the community period. So that's what we're talking about. And you had nominated this first story of your largest customer comes to you and asks if you can reduce their bill by about 10% as they have to cut back on operating expenses. What do you do? We had this come up recently. Curious, what would your approach be besides the pitchfork knee-jerk of the price is the price, take a hike response? The relationship's in a perfect spot. Deliverables are being met or exceeded. Kyle, I'm sure you've been in this position before. What say you, sir? How would you respond to this?
It's a very tough question because the first thing that comes to mind is why, right? If there's a situation to where the client's hurting right now, they have some things in the pipe, it's just not happening right now, and they'd like to lower a cost for a short amount of time. Sure, like we can work something out, maybe put you on a payment plan, to do a discount, something to assist you, right? But if they're just coming and asking for a discount, that's probably going to be a no. Mm-hmm. We are a business just like they are, and it's not something within the rise of inflation that everyone has occurred with, right? We also have to take into account increase in salaries, increase in the job market, because
our costs go up.
Yeah, everything's gone up, and taking a 10% hit can be pretty hefty, especially if an agreement's not already profitable, right?
Oh yeah.
For sure. Or even like barely profitable. If the client wants to work with me, I'm happy to work with them. But if they're just coming to get a discount, like if they hire a new person and they come in and be like, hey, we need 10% off, I'm like, well, hey, it's not something we can do. I apologize.
Yeah. I mean, we all want stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But
I'd like 10% off all my fees too.
Right? I mean, look, so admittedly, I'm the guy that does this. I go back to my vendors once a year, and I review, audit, and sometimes renegotiate the contracts. I don't go in asking for 10%, but I do go in. This is a standard process, and they know we're going to have this yearly conversation. And the reason is because our volume is greater year over year. I know exactly what we're bringing to the table. So part of it is just making sure we're being charged at the appropriate tier, right? Because not every vendor charges you less immediately.
They don't ever go back and review that. That's up to you to poke them on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
a fair thing, right? If you're pricing, if I've hit a different tier and my pricing is going to go down temporarily as I continue to ramp up, sure, that's great. And I understand that's fantastic. But
so it's funny. Well, before we get into this, Dean's comment, I want to play the game that you started What do you think they said? so,
Um,
so what do you think? What do you
I
think was a Reddit response?
I'd like to immediately go with tell them no and to screw off. Right? It is
Yeah,
Reddit. But I think people are going to be genuinely. I think it's going to start with why. Like, why are they asking you for it? And as Zoidberg commented, it's odd that they're not going, hey, we need help. Can you help us? Lower some costs. I probably want more information prior to making giving some advice. But that's what I
yeah.
think is.
So I did a little reading. The first response was actually exactly where I'd come from. I've seen that before. Great tactic, usually brought up by professional procurement. By requesting 10% off the top line, it changes the shape of your negotiation. Now you maybe think yourself lucky just maintaining current pricing instead of asking for an increase. UK compound inflation is roughly 30% since 2020. Jesus. That's a vast
It's
amount of
huge.
net profit. Having a written, well-researched pricing strategy and stick to it, review annually. Economy tightens up, we get more client churn. No excuse for being bullied into unprofitable clients. So, to that end, yes, when you go in with a ridiculous amount of negotiation, fully expecting it to come down from there, um, even if you end up at nothing when most vendors are raising your prices every year, it's a good technique.
Yeah.
So I would venture to say 10% is just a out of the box ridiculously crazy number, but not a number that's so crazy you wouldn't negotiate, right? If they
Mhm.
started with 30%, you're going to be like, go fly a kite.
Yeah.
10% is within the realm of US national inflation is 9%. So it's within the realm of, most uplifts are between 5 and 7% on a contract annually. So it's a smart place, in my opinion.
Um, that's the additional context he provided is up one more post from that one on the top. That to me leads that it's an easy client. They're not being malicious, at least that he's aware of.
Hmm.
But I'd be like, okay, just tell me what the problem is so I can help you resolve it, because I'm of the opinion to try to maintain partnerships and relationships with our client base, right? We don't want to be an ISP type vendor, right? We don't want to just be like, okay, no,
Yeah.
I'm happy to work with you. I'm happy to figure out a solution to the problem if you can tell me what the problem is. Now, if it is something you've done yourself, that answer still
Yeah.
might be no. But if it's, hey, I need I'm if as he said that, hey, there's these massive projects we're doing, there's just a huge amount of cost, the board is on my case about lowering some costs, and I'm like, well, what if we took 10% off for the next 12 months, but then rolled that
Yeah.
into the next 12 months, right? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, that's
Right.
in that it's showing them we are willing to work with them, but because everybody has cash flow issues every now and again.
Yeah.
The one advice I would give is don't start arguing against points they haven't presented yet.
True.
There's a good saying of don't, it's better than to think you a fool than to open your mouth and prove them right. My strategy going into these is start with what you said, why, and then dead stop. Like, shut the hell up, let them talk.
Yeah.
Don't, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're going to come up with whatever's on their mind, and you go from there. But don't.
Oh, your audio's going quiet. You
It's over
faded
here.
out. Oh, there we go. We're back.
There we go.
That was
Sorry about that.
that was awesome. It was like you were talking, and it's just like we're fading into
It was
nothingness.
like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I mean, but you get what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
it's a smart play, but um on the
Why?
defensive side, just ask the question, shut the hell up, let them ask what they're gonna ask. It's
What's
not
the troubleshooting step? You ask 5 whys, and you'll get the real reason.
there you
Right?
go.
Just one.
There should be more indicators than an email or phone call asking for a discount. Would compare with other factors here for trusted technology advisor. Our client's P&L shouldn't be a surprise. So
That's
I'll push back on this. Go
yeah,
ahead.
me too.
Your
I mean,
feelings.
I do in a perfect situation, in a perfect scenario. Yeah, we're that tight with the client. We're basically another their IT arm, and we have a great relationship, and we work together, and they're willing to share part of their P&L with us. But in the real world, that doesn't happen. The client considers us an ISP vendor, and while we try to build that partnership and that relationship, that's only when things are going right. If anything's not going right, we're now an ISP vendor again, and they're not going to show their P&L with us. They're barely going to give us a budget, if that, and it's a fight tooth and nail to get all that happening. So,
and that's easy to say with a small MSP client, right? When the client's 25, 15 users, whatever, it's really easy to know all the members of management. When it's a larger client, when it's 100 users, 500 users, whatever it is, I mean, even 50 users, the truth of the matter is you're going to have multiple people that you're going to be talking with on a regular basis, and their CIO, if they have one, or their HR contact or their finance contact. You could be dealing with any of these. And so even though you have a great relationship with their CIO or CTO or whoever happens to be, finance could be the one coming in, or it could be a new finance person, right? There's lots of reasons for this. So let's see. What was the other one? MSP got bought out by 20-person. What to expect?
40-person MSP bought out my 20-person MSP.
All right. You want to read this one for us and give us the
Sure. 40-person MSP located in Ohio. We're the smaller company located in New England, the 20-person company. I am in customer service. The owner sold last Friday. We've been told the two new owners plan to carry on the legacy. Both owners are meeting one-to-one with each employee to ensure the future of the company and basically telling everyone not to worry. My manager seems convinced that she will have her job after the meeting. Some veteran sysadmins have told me they're doubtful and see the writing on the wall. My meeting will be approaching and wondering what it will be like. They all seem to be about an hour long. Should I try to stick around in hopes of getting a package or some unemployment money while I continue to job search?
Yeah, Dean's MSP got bought out twice by much larger companies. And actually, I should point out, we did a partner first before Dean came on, and I'll put the link in here when I find it, talking about that experience of being in an MSP that got bought out by a larger company. But Kyle, I don't think you've been through this one yet personally, right?
I have not. But it's a hard, because of the size of the MSP buying this company. I don't think there's going to be any major issues. It's not a 400-person company coming in saying, all right, we're buying you. At that point, I could understand some of the feelings of writing on the walls and in that situation. Now, eventually, because a company is buying a company, the departments overlap and systems overlap. You will absolutely have either some turnover or some movement in the company, because you don't need two finance departments. You don't need two operations departments, right? That doesn't need to exist in in a single company. So that will happen 100%. But the majority of an MSP is not those departments. It's the technicians, it's the staff, it's the project engineers. Those people are almost irreplaceable when you buy a company at this level. 9 times out of 10, like if I was the 40-person MSP going in and buying a 20-person MSP, that company is staying as whole as I can keep it for the longest time. And because the customers that I'm buying, the contracts that I'm buying, are supported by the staff members. That means they're familiar with them. There are issues that we could probably fix for them, right? There's a whole bunch of challenges to solve, like culture and systems integrations and things like that. But overall, I don't think this is going to be a malicious come in, cut everyone, get everybody out, and I'm just buying the contracts, right? I don't think this is a scenario of that nature. The size just doesn't add up.
So I don't disagree with you in the sense of, like, a 20-person MSP, a 40-person MSP, they're not much different in makeup, honestly. So I'm with you on that 100%. My thing is, if you're looking at it in terms of efficiency, there's absolutely going to be overlap, though, right? A 20-person MSP does have an admin and finance person. 40-person MSP absolutely has at least one of those. You may not need both, right? as if there's any kind of RMM or PSA admin, duplicated across both. Who knows? Not to say that there's not other positions. Yeah, the goal is not to, it depends on what the goals are, right? So Dean touched on that a little bit. You're buying a functional business. The goals of buying a business isn't to gut the place. No, but if you're buying it because they're functional, you're going to leave them alone like a franchise, great. But if you're buying them because you're going to integrate them, then there's going to be overlaps and cuts, right? You don't know why. And the only thing universal about these is whatever they say at the all hands meeting. Just ignore that because they're not going to tell you what they're actually
They
going to
don't have
do.
enough information to be able to make those calls at the all hands meetings.
Exactly.
That's their intent, maybe.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Again, it depends on the situation. Like if someone, a 700 MSP bought a 20-person MSP, that all hands meeting, I'm thinking, is probably BS and not going to be real. But if there was an all hands meeting, I think that would be absolutely their intent in anything that they said. But again, there's information that they're lacking.
Company would have more spaces to consume those other new employees. Possibly.
It depends on if they already have a presence in there and they're just buying the company. I mean, they may keep some staff around, but they might also think, hey, we're not overburdened. We can absorb these contracts without absorbing the staff. And we can just see who's great and keep them, right? It just really, there's a lot of context that's missing in someone buying another company.
Yeah. So here's a salient point. You can't expect new code to know that your Kyles or Dean's already amazing. It's probably the hardest pill for mid-level people to swallow. So how do you elevate that? How do you make sure that they know that you're amazing? Let's say Intellicom gets bought out today and you want them to know Kyle is phenomenal. This is the guy you want on your team, no matter what the name of the company is.
Are you asking me as Kyle, or are you asking me as the business owner who just sold the company?
I'm asking you as Kyle, the guy that works at the company but is not the business owner.
See, actions. I haven't been in a buyout situation, but I have been in a liquidation situation. And I would do the same thing I did in that situation, be as helpful and as, in the transition period, be as helpful and as willing to help, willing to do stuff that needs to be done, regardless of the roles or situations. I'm comfortable in what I do and how I do that. If the new culture doesn't fit me, that, hey, it's just not working out, I'll just have to go find something else, and that sucks, but that's life, right? Sometimes it just doesn't fit, and that's okay. But generally speaking, it's, I wouldn't, because to me it feels horrible to walk up and be like, I'm amazing, you should know that, right? Because that's the first thought that pops into my head, is to do it. I'm like, but that's wrong.
To sit there and try to, like you say, be helpful, make sure they know you're an integral part of the transition plan. You have to give them those opportunities to notice you, right? It's no different than, college football and scouting and anything else. You have to show them that there's something there to pay attention to.
Yeah.
I stumped Kyle.
Because I don't like bragging. I don't like
saying
I'm good at stuff. Like and that feels gross to me. If it goes back to marketing, if you want to talk about marketing, like, it feels wrong, even though people do it all the time. But I think that if I'm actually truly valued at the current company that just got bought out, then it will easily level, like, depending, it'll get back to the new owners, right? If you're that good, if you're that integral to the current company, even if it's an overlapping position, like if it's in a finance position, but you're absolutely dominating everything in the company, and you find ways to help out everywhere, that will get to the owners, and that will, if they're paying attention, obviously.
If they're paying attention,
right? Yeah. But it'll absolutely get back to them without you having to go, I'm the best.
Oh man, it's tough. And maybe this is why you're giving that marketing talk at Rejection Con next week.
Yeah.
So, here's another one I wanted to. Speaking of not upselling to your bosses, but upselling to your customers. We're trying to focus more on cybersecurity as we continue to see this growth on a daily basis. We want to protect our customers as well as ourselves. Do you include proactive monitoring within your agreements for customers for 365? I know proactive isn't just 365. If not, how do you upsell this to your customers? My only concern is a question. I thought you already did this for us. Advice is much appreciated. Oh, the thoughts I have. But I'm not an MSP right now. You are. So, Kyle, let's start with you, man.
So I'm gonna preface my answer with I hate sales and marketing. It is not an area that I enjoy going. My opinion of how to do sales is different from the traditional overarching current situation of sales. Um, I think that MSPs are so unique. Every single one of them is different, and just talking about this is just like frustrating because I understand why they have this problem,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't get into this problem. Um, Proactive monitoring, if you're uh, is in general should be something you cover in your agreement, regardless of what system it is. If you can monitor it, you should monitor it on behalf of your client, and it should be something you already do. Um, it, if not, what are you? Because at that point, you're almost like a slightly better break fix.
Let me give an easy answer to this. Kyle, what's market rate if you're charging per user in the MSP world today?
It varies, but generally $150 to $300 a user.
Okay. So if you're collecting $150 to $300, can you adequately protect most office users?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. So there's your answer. Charge appropriately. You can swap out the tools as you need. That was, and I know I'm being incredibly simplistic about this.
That's the exact thing I would do.
But that is a simple answer. It was, I charged 185 to 225. My last MSP client that I took on was 2016. That was the last MSP sale I did. So for back then, 185, 225 was actually on the higher end of
It's
these
very
days.
high, yeah.
Nowadays I see some people charging hell
Mid.
a lot more, which is amazing, but good for
Yeah.
them. But I can tell you when I charged appropriately, I never had to have tool conversations with my clients. Their thought of, I thought you already did this for us. The answer was always yes, because I charged enough where if something came up, I had to do it. I could afford to fit it into the stack. It wasn't a problem. So I didn't have to worry about did they have WebRoot or any other MDR. Yes, I use WebRoot once upon a time.
I did too, don't worry.
Yeah, everybody did, I think, at some point. You know what I
Shoot.
mean? But like if I had to swap one EDR for another EDR, or if I wanted to move from G Suite to 365, or it was never a
You wanted
financial
to add
conversation.
this specific tool set because that's my thing, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's an all you can eat contract. Give them all of the stuff. Give them everything. And the only thing I would say maybe not include would maybe something like an Office 365 license. I can understand not including that. I would just
The
because it
NCE thing
simplifies
makes it
things.
complicated. I get
But
it. Yeah.
have it because right, we talked about inflation earlier. Your cost should increase yearly, and that allows you to continue to maintain your margin. And as long as you're actually actually checking the profitability of your clients, and they don't have a pattern of abuse of your agreements, and they're not, it's not $1,000 contract that's using 100 hours a month, right?
Yeah.
As long as there are no issues like that, and it's just you're good. Just as you increase, you can add those features, you can add those sections without having to go to the client and be like, I need more money from you, please, because you got to justify that.
If you have an annual uplift, they can actually budget. If you have a per user cost, they can budget, because if you're sitting there and having them quarterly reviews with them, and your third or fourth quarter every year is a planning for the next year, and you know what their hiring plan is, they know exactly every employee how much extra it's going to cost them. You've planned that out in advance if you're doing your job. So there's no surprise. I do love this comment from Dean. If you go to a Michelin star steak place, you assume they use the best steak. If they get a new supplier tomorrow for better steak, you're going to continue to get the best steak possible. And I think that's a perfect example. The MSP is doing the best for the client, period. But that involves some money, right? Money is not a bad thing. That's the conversation we've had with Slagle and Tom Lawrence and others of, what do you do with the mom and pop that can only pay 20 or $30 a user? Can you adequately support them?
No.
And My answer is no.
You charge $30 a user. That covers the cost of you having your services installed.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover any labor or any, because you're paying you as an employee are paying anywhere from $30 to $60 an hour for your technicians. And if they're paying $30 a user per month, that means you can maybe have like an hour's worth of work to stay profitable, right? And it's not something that you got to, it's just,
Yeah.
and
And that's what kills me, because you always get the argument of, well, does that mean they don't deserve to be protected? It's not a deserve thing. It's not a fair thing. You don't have a moral obligation to support everybody on the planet. There are some people that can't afford cars. Are you going out and buying them a car?
you can't afford your internet bill. Does that mean they're going to come and lower your pricing? No.
Exactly. And while I agree 100% with Dr. Zoidberg and how to add 75 to 85% gross margin, because that is self-serving, I'm not going to bring that on screen.
Something about OIT VoIP.
Yeah, you should have seen how he was torturing poor Connor at ITNC, trying to get him to use MobileX, our MVNO solution. It was hilarious. It was like the start of every conversation.
So here, the next question that follows this is immediately, how do I move from my really bad setup contract to an actual decent one? And that's to have a conversation. Talk to the client, tell them where they're going, tell them why you can't adequately support them with what they're doing.
Yeah, and so, and through the evolution of your business, poor Connor, you know, as you go through the evolution of your business, your MSA is going to change. That is going to happen. I know Brad Gross, Rob Scott, and everybody else tells you, you know, your contract, your MSA should be set in stone. Life changes.
I mean, it should be set in stone,
yeah,
but it should also evolve.
Exactly, it evolves. And so there is going to be the point where you are going to have that conversation with the client, because none of us started our first MSA with annual uplift charges in there. None of us started that way. None of us started with MSAs that were charging appropriately or covering our asses appropriately. So there's going to be that point where you have to have the conversation with the client, which is why you should be reviewing these annually with your client anyway. You know what I mean? One solves the other. These are simple answers. I hate to say it, but like,
so I think the problem that, and this is with any MSP, the problem is they don't want to say no to the client. Yeah. They are scared of them leaving. It's okay for a client to leave. It's okay for you to help a client find a better partner because it's not a good fit anymore. That is okay. Your clothes that you wore in high school probably don't fit anymore. The clothes you wore in elementary school definitely don't fit. It's
and they've been out of style and in style and out of style again.
Probably. I think we're in the 70s now. We're back in the 70s. But it's okay to do this. Also, if you do have an uplift, make sure to do it.
Yeah. I love those. Oh yeah, I forgot we had an uplift. It's been 3 years, and the client's like, "What the hell happened?"
3 years. I've seen some with 15. Yeah. I have an uplift every year. Never had an uplift. It's in the contract.
Hey, you charge a 1975 prices. Yeah, man.
Sure. But it's okay to say no. It's okay to lose a client. It's okay. It's not going to kill you. Right? If a client leaves and that breaks your business, you have other problems you should be worrying about.
So Dean actually talked about this on the Partner First that we did. He said after they were purchased, the new owner just went up and uplifted every contract by 20%. And yes, they lost. Dean, I think you said you lost like 1 or 2. It wasn't anything crazy, but the revenue that was gained from that was ridiculous.
I was gonna say is if you raise your prices by 50% and you lose 50% of your net revenue, you've still gained.
You gain and you're doing less.
Yeah, you have changed. No money has changed, right?
No money has changed, but you've gained efficiency.
But you've gained
and then some.
So much.
Yeah.
It's people don't realize that.
Yeah, the constant Reddit post. Tech Tribe is the only one I will recommend.
Just Google
not because of the quality of the contract, but because I know it's there. Yeah, Google, then go get sued, then go talk to Brad Gross or Rob Scott or one of the other MSP attorneys.
Talk to your lawyer and make an MSA.
Yes,
that's the advice I give.
Look, and they really love it when you bring an MSA and then hand it to them and then say edit it. all attorneys really love that. Good luck. So
Uh,
anyway,
I've done that.
oh,
Here is what I think our MSA should be. What is your advice? Is how I generally phrase that, because
then your attorney was talking shit about you in the break room. I promise.
that's fine.
It is. So I do take back to them and say, these are things I want to protect against that I think are relevant. But I stopped doing the providing my own verbiage and my own contract stuff because I found out later attorneys really hate it. Similar to when we get our CFOs to tell us how to do our jobs.
I mean, look, I don't. If they want to yell at me, that's fine. But I don't know what I'm doing, so I wrote the knowledge down and the verbiage I think should work. But
Yeah.
if you rewrite the whole thing, I don't care.
No, yeah, that's
Right?
not a big deal.
You're gonna write it anyway.
Yeah, but there's a difference between a paragraph and a contract, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Zoidberg brings up he just did a partner first was then contract this week, yesterday actually, and they part of the thing is document management and contract management in there. So go check it out. All right, we covered 3 stories and we talked about WebRoot. I think that's a win for MSP Community Live.
You want to hear my WebRoot story?
I do want to hear your WebRoot story, please.
So we jumped on the WebRoot bandwagon at my old MSP, 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. And it was great. We had a couple of issues, but what massive software that you deploy everywhere that's an antivirus doesn't have issues, right?
Yeah.
And one day I was sitting like at 8:30 at my desk, drinking my huge cup of coffee because I don't want to work because it's morning and I want to go bed. Right? Everyone, right? Fueling for my day. And I see some conversation going on in MSP Geek about WebRoot has blacklisted Windows files and it is blue screening everything. The the speed at which I disabled WebRoot was legendary, and the amount of kudos I got because of the rapid response was great. It still never worked on terminal servers, regardless of what they decided to do. It kept blue screening terminal servers, and it was the most frustrating thing for our staff. But that is my community story, is that a lot of conversation was happening, and it allowed me to look good in my employer because of actions I could take.
So that's actually, you know what? Maybe that should be a good talk to be submitted one day between you and me. But that was one of the things my staff, I've gotten so many responses back from my staff of, how did you know this was going on? Like, where did you see, how did you find this email? How do you know these things are happening? And I'm like, well, MSP Geek, MSPRU, Reddit, like if you pay attention, they're saying it in the very beginning. I had a similar story. So that I think was the first WebRoot screw up. The second one, which I think was within 6 months of that, because I remember that happening. I wasn't affected by that one. I was affected by the one where the logs were filling up and also blue screening servers. So that was fun. And that was when we exited WebRoot. But yeah, and that is
I think the
thing I
MSP
found
is
out.
still on WebRoot.
Yeah,
I think they have recently left WebRoot.
Yeah, well,
like within the past
today.
6 months.
Yeah, no, Dustin uses it today. So,
Who?
we
Bolander?
yes.
Oh, that's more stuff I have to make fun of him about.
Yeah.
There's a delicious conversation in the ConnectWise channel involving Dustin. If you're curious, it's very funny.
Oh, good Lord. Yes, I will have to check it out. All right. So, and if you want to check out more, go check out MSP Geek, the Discord or the Slack if you're so inclined. Discord's better. Go Discord. Whatchamacallit, or the forums.
You can't get into Slack unless you know someone who's already in Slack.
Oh, really? Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
So, and go check out MSP GeekCon, and coming up next week, go check out Kyle and Mendy and Dean and Megan Killian and all these other amazing speakers next week at Rejection Con. And if you haven't scheduled already, you haven't registered already, go register. There is no reason you can't listen to all these awesome talks. So, all right, Kyle, anything else you want to talk about before we let you go?
Go buy OIT Void.
That works.
Not a sponsor.
That works. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining MSP Community Live. We appreciate all the comments and all the WebRoot hate. Just kidding. But seriously, register for Rejection Con and MSP Geek Con. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.